So my new business career highlight, or rather highlight so far, has got to be winning Agency of the Year awards. So when I worked at Ogilvy, won 4 Agency of the Year awards, and more recently at Brooklyn Brothers, in the 2 years that I've been here, won another 4. And it's a career highlight for me because the Agency of the Year awards are the ultimate recognition for agencies, really, because it looks at overall agency performance, it looks at the agency growth, reputation, the work, innovation, leadership. So it's kind of the ultimate award for agencies to win. And as somebody on the management team responsible for growth and reputation, it definitely has to be kind of the highlight of my career. And it kind of reassures me that I'm kind of, I think, doing an okay job.
In business development, you have good days and not so good days. I think my highlight so far is realising that for every bad day, you'll have a good day, and to be confident in your abilities and to be comfortable celebrating and acknowledging the highs. This is actually a really hard thing to do. So when I realised I was able to do it, it was a really, really big moment for me.
Always a tough one to answer, as every win brings a real sense of achievement. Highlights have obviously been in bringing on those new big brand names, the pursuit of doing new exciting work and record-breaking growth quarters. But equally, working with a great team who continue to raise their game is really inspiring. And of course, winning the BD100 Rising Star Award in 2019 has been another lovely chapter in my new business career so far.
So for me, it's going to have to be my first win at any new agency. It's always a highlight, and clearly the most important win is always the first win, because it's the one that kickstarts the career, takes that pressure off and enables you to build momentum within the agency. And as we all know, momentum in the digital agency is key to any success.
It has to be winning F1. I'm a massive fan, so I got to combine my personal and my professional loves together. And the challenges weren't what you expected either, so it was a really interesting pitch process.
I think there's actually probably been 2 highlights for me so far. The first was a good while ago now, I think probably 10 plus years ago, which was for the launch of the Shard. A highlight for me because I actually got to see it. So there was a great laser show, and I managed to see that, and I think it's quite nice to be able to see the fruits of your labour. The second one was a few years ago. I won a large contract with one of the big tech companies for an agency, and it changed the course of that agency. So pretty pleased with that one.
I focused a lot over the last 12 months on truly understanding the business and the individual I'm speaking to on an even greater depth than I have done before. So taking time to research their background, their role, their business, their industry, having a really well-informed view of what their probable pains and challenges are. I think building a relationship has probably never been more important than it is right now, and will be even more important over the coming 12, 18 months.
My approach has changed in a number of ways due to the context of COVID. Zoom has become default as opposed to novel. Relationships are forged with less small talk. Collaboration up until recently has been just more difficult. And sometimes you'll find your potential client has come straight from one pitch to yours, has another straight to get to, without so much as a break for a water refill. Pitching in particular has lost some of its natural drama, and you have to be aware of how that affects your preparation. Sometimes you'll need to be more calculated in how you create that sense of occasion yourself and for your team. Other times you'll need to push for more face time with the client, or get creative with how you create discussion virtually. Knowing how to create those sometimes undefinable moments that get you closer to winning is more challenging. The approach is more subtle, and whilst I'm hopeful that the drama of a pitch won't be a distant memory, it has also allowed us to focus more deeply on the work and let that really speak for itself, as it should.
So how has our approach to new business changed over the past year? Wow, so I mean, where do I start? The question is more about what hasn't changed, right? Because it's the new business playbook has just been thrown out of the window. So much has changed during COVID. So I think if I kind of really hone in onto one area where we've changed our approach the most, has had the biggest impact, I would say it's how we source our new business opportunities. And thankfully, we adjusted our approach just before COVID. And because we did that, it meant that our volume of, or our value of new business opportunities that were qualified increased by 200% during COVID. And those that converted through to pitch, the value of the pitches year on year increased by 700%. So by us changing our approach to where we source and hunt for those opportunities, that kind of set us up for a busy pitching year during COVID. So what we did basically is that we kind of just looked to rebalance and our kind of end-to-end business development strategy and plan. And I guess we all have that ambition, but then the reality is that we become quite heavily reliant on intermediaries, and that's natural for everyone because intermediaries provide really well qualified briefs, high value opportunities, and the pitch processes are way better. So it's very easy to become more, your pipeline to become more reliant on intermediaries. And what we did was we just focused on our end-to-end plan and put a lot more effort and energy into the rest of the plan so that we weren't quite so heavily reliant. So that meant when COVID hit and those opportunities weren't coming through from intermediaries, actually the other parts of our plan were delivering those opportunities for us. So a couple of things that we did that we didn't have in place was our partner program to leverage strategically our IPG network, through to launching our talent referral program, and then we introduced our our clients and prospective clients CRM program for those warm contacts that we had, and we launched more of a cold outbound prospecting program. And then specifically on PR and marketing, it was way more focused on the PR that would generate more of those inbound opportunities. So that for me, I think, was the biggest change that we made during COVID, which had the kind of biggest impact and results.
Well, I think it's changed for all of us, hasn't it? We've all had to go back to school, learn new bits of tech, learn how to keep clients engaged on Zoom. It's the biggest shake-up of the pitch process there's been in ages, and I think that's a good thing. I'm looking forward to keeping some of those good bits and maybe getting rid of some of the bad bits.
So, new business in the last year has never been more important, and it's not just about agency growth, but helping clients and to have the best impacts on their business. And in many scenarios, it's to support those clients to keep their jobs. This added severity has been a big motivator for me, because it's not just about giving good service, it's about supporting people. Similarly, in building new relationships at work has been hugely positive, as in a lot of occasions, it's the only contact that people have really had, and this has motivated me hugely. Work is one of those few places where you get to interact with people, and these new business relationships that we create become even more valuable than they've ever been.
I think it's changed quite dramatically, actually. So when I started off 15-ish years ago, it was very much a case of a numbers game. Didn't really change my process, didn't really change what I was saying to people. It was very much churn through the numbers and hopefully it works. And I think it's changed quite substantially. It's now very much how can you deliver the most value to the client the most amount of the time. So I think that's, for me, it's changed quite a lot.
I think new business is so unique in that you have multiple opportunities every day to try something different. The way you talk about your agency or how you prepare for a pitch, you're constantly meeting new people, and this brings with it such opportunity to put on a new hat. my top tip is try something new. Every day, every week, every month, you'll learn new things, finesse your unique approach, and never be bored.
Understand the individual and business you're prospecting. Know what keeps them up at night. Know their business, know what they're doing, and form a really sound rationale for where your product or service fits or the problem it solves. If you can't demonstrate a key benefit to the business, it doesn't matter how good your proposition is, it just won't get traction.
I think it's building a trusted relationship with the client and getting them to see you as a partner for me. I think once you've built that trust and you have that relationship, quite often a no will turn into a yes later down the line. And the relationship will last longer. So I've followed clients from company to company based on that.
So my top tip for business development would be to focus on the 10 degrees that matters. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. So business development for me, and I hope for you too, is I think the best job in our industry. Having personally worked client side of it, agency side, in different roles, I think the role that we have, we get exposure and a diversity of work that you don't get in other industries and roles, and you get the exposure and access to work with such brilliant talent. So I think it's the best job in the industry. But there's always a but when something's so great, isn't there? But the role can be quite intense. And for various reasons, obviously, like it's intense because it's deadline driven, because of the importance of the role, but also because there's an infinite amount that we can do, a never-ending amount that we can do around growth of an agency. And I know when I started my career and I was kind of getting used to kind of that intensity whilst also trying to deliver against a new business strategy and a plan. I can remember writing a plan and then a year later going, oh, it's that time of year again. How did that happen? I'm now writing a plan for the following year and looking back on the previous year and going, oh, crikey, actually, I haven't actually delivered anything that I had put on paper from the previous year. And I think that's because I was kind of getting used to that, in the intensity that you can kind of get swept up in business as usual, the pitches and everything that you can put it in the plan, but then you get to the end of the year and not get as much of it done as you wanted. And then I kind of quickly realised, and that's where my tip comes from, is the power of focusing on the 10 degrees that matters. And what I mean by that is when it comes to writing your marketing strategy, your plan, and you obviously make sure that it's really well connected. The 101 is, making sure connected closely to the business vision and strategy. And you then obviously create your plan and your tactical plan around that. Once I've done it, then I always go back and I look through that plan and I kind of go, okay, so what is going to be the 10% of this plan that's going to have the biggest impact on me and the team achieving the objectives that we need to achieve for the department and the agency overall? What's that 10% that's going to shift the dial the most out of everything that's written down in the plan? And then you focus there first, put all your energy there first. And what that does is it makes you really focused on the parts of the plan that's going to have the biggest impact that will achieve your objectives. And it takes out the intensity of the role, because once you've delivered what you need to deliver and you've done it in a focused and efficient way, it takes out that intensity of the role. So if you don't get the rest of it done, it doesn't kind of matter. And it's just a healthier way of working when you're kind of in this role. So that's my top tip. When you're writing your plan and you're on a day-to-day life, your day-to-day kind of working, focus on the 10 degrees that really matters and will have the biggest impact.
So my top tip would be to be empathetic with potential clients' needs and to spend more time listening and caring rather than just selling. It's amazing the levels of insight that you can gain from your clients. and what they really, really want outside of a brief or an RFP, when you just listen and understand and empathise with the problems and the needs that those clients have.
Be curious. Be curious about the people you pitch to. What are they like? What about the people you work with? What about the industry? Why do we do things the way that we do? If you keep being curious, then you'll keep learning things and the world will stay interesting.